Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Okay, I think this is part 7. I think we're part 7 now. 7 hours into it. We will be after this video. Okay, so what we're going to do next, I jumped ahead a little bit, and I hesitate to do that, so I didn't want to get too far. So what I've done is I've added a something for us to wear on our head, and a cape. So essentially the shield is going to resist damage for us. It's going to heal us. It's going to have all those properties, right? So the headband, what it's going to do is it's going to regenerate our stamina, it's going to regenerate our mana, and it's going to regenerate our health. And what the cape is going to do, it is going to change our physical attributes. So did I make this? Let me see here. Yeah, so we still have that. Yeah, and then I also figured out a couple of things. I figured out how to finally boost the player's health. So as you see, if you look at the player in the workspace right now, I only have, where's he here? 100 health. But when I equip the sword, I now have 300 health. And then when I unequip with the sword, I still have 300 health until I die. So it's kind of, could be an exploit, I'm not sure how to. Yeah, so in order to do that, what you need to do is you need to boost the maximum health and then set the health. So we're going to go through that. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. So as I thought about, let's look at the interface. As I thought about the interface, okay? And I thought, this needs to say stamina, not mana. So as I looked at the interface, I thought what we need to do is we need to separate this. Because at some point, these are individual stats: strength, wisdom, and endurance. And these are individual stats: mana, health, and stamina, right? So what we want to do is we want to, we want to separate that. So I thought, okay, what can we do? We can have either a single item, which boosts these attributes in its own way, or we can create multiple items that the player needs to gather and combine together. And when you combine them together, they give you that overall attribute boost, which I think is better because then, you know, the player is going to say, okay, well, I want to complete the suit of armor so I can get the best resistances, regeneration, and the highest stats. And where does that matter? That's going to matter for loot you get from chests, loot you get from enemies you kill, and all that sort of stuff, right? That's the RPG itself. That's sort of the idea. So yeah, so I wasn't too sure exactly how to approach that. I just thought we are going to run with it and see what we can do. Oops. Run with it and see what we can do. Alright, so something like that. So in the last video we were looking at trying to make this level up screen. We could add that. I thought maybe we could add that to the character window. So what we could do is, for the stats here, I don't know how big that'll be. Like, I know it's let's see, yeah, what is this? This window here is levels. We kind of want the script, right? So we'll just take this and we'll just put it in here for now. And then we'll take levels and we'll put that inside stats. So if we make this frame this big, inside here we could insert object. We could insert our own scrolling frame, and inside that scrolling frame we could have information of some kind, And then up above it, we could insert object. Could be a frame here. Let's see. Let's just change the color a little bit. There we go. We'll change the color. We'll change the color to P. That's a perfect color, right? Everybody likes that color. Then we'll change this color to, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Now we can see them, right? So, and then in here, whatever you select here can appear inside the scrolling frame. Yeah, so we can do the leveling up and all that kind of stuff for the character from there. So, inside the scrolling frame, we copy this list, we paste into, then we can go insert object, and it could be a button, it could be like a text button, just like that, and we'll make it like this small, and it'll have any information, whatever the information is going to be. Actually, this button here and can be this button here. Level up endurance. I like it, so put that back in replicated storage. There we go. Oh, it's going to give me an error for character stats, master UI stats. I wonder if it needs to be like another 1, 2, 3. Holy cow. 1, 2, 3, perhaps? Yes, there we go. I found it. Ha ha ha! I found it. So then we also need a close button or a hide button on there, and then we don't need this sort of level up thing. I don't know why. So we'll put this here. What frame is that? Oh, that's the screen buttons. Oh, I see. So that's going to be kind of anchored there. And so when we click this button, let's just insert for now. Let's insert a local script. And in here we will say button equals script.parent button dot mouse button 1 down connect function. And we're going to say script.parent dot parent dot stats dot visible equals false. So we are going to say click equals false if click is equal to false, then let's see. And then it'll say click equals true, else if click is equal to true, then alright, let's see if that works. Closes it, but it doesn't open it. Click equals, oh, because click equals false. So we'll say here. Oh, we have to set it back to false, I think, here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. So this should say stats Perfect. And then we'll put that in there. So now when we join the game, we can close this window. Our stats come up, our player stats come up, you know, if we have enough experience. Yeah, so that sort of finishes setting up the basic player window. I mean, from here, the sky's the limit, right? Whatever you decide you want to design, you want to add on to here, and we'll be adding on to it ourselves. But at this point, the sky is the limit. Maybe you want to add a little image in here, you know, of the player. We're going to go through that as well. What else can we do here? Let's see. So now we're going to go over the different armor types. So, what you could do is you could start the player off in kind of like a peaceful area, and then they would have to do 3 or 4 quests, and then one would give them the shield, one's going to give them this helmet, and one is going to give them this cape. And we will actually we'll code all that. I guess the battery's low in my headphones, so we'll see how this goes. We'll eventually code all of that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange the shield a little bit, and we are going to rearrange the player, because I would like the interface that's inside the shield to be in the player, to be on the player. This graphics here. And that way when the player gets poisoned, it'll say over top of the player. Like, let's see if we can, if I copy that, and where would we put it inside the ring? Let's see, there's the head. If we paste it into, you know, that would almost be perfect. That would almost work. And what I would just want to do is I just want to make this visible. Okay, so that, let's see. So now if we took that and we put that into the replicated storage, so it needs to go into the head. And we put that into replicated storage, and then when the player joins the game, down here where stuff gets cloned to the player, we also want to say local information equals game get service and replicated storage, find first child and GFX, and then we want to say information clone dot parent equals game get service workspace find first child player dot head. Now that should work. Attachments must be parented to a base part. So does that leave only the humanoid root part, perhaps? Dot player dot perhaps. Okay, so if it has to go into here then what we need to do is we need to, let's just see how it sits. Oh, to another attachment. There we go. We'll just call it hair attachment. And then it will just Hmm. Oh, player.name. Duh. There we go. Excellent. So now, with the label, cool. We can show the player's health, we can show the player's mana, we can show the player's stamina, and we can give a few basic statistics that way. So I kind of wanted to just cover that briefly in this video here, and just to show the direction that we're going to go. We're going to take it away from the shield. Because later on, what I will eventually do is we'll make a crafting system as part of this, so the player can find items and then craft them together, and then they can make different types of shields, different types of helmet gear, and different types of capes. It'll be just the three: a cape, this thing, and the shield. But they'll be able to have different stats. So the player will be able to find stuff, and they'll be able to add stats to these, so they can, you know, in a way, customize the items, the base items that they start with, right? So as they progress through the game, these base items are going to improve just from the player's stats and from defeating, from getting rewards, quest rewards. And then once all that's done, the player may want to further enhance the items. They can do so by finding items, combining them together, and that is where their stats like wisdom and endurance and strength will come into play, which will determine how well they're able to improve their items. So I mean, so there's just like there's no end to kind of where we can go at this point in time. But this really, what are we at here? 17 minutes. This is a pretty short video. Where are we here? Just because, yeah, this is just a very short video. I don't know why. This is a short video. There isn't much to it, right? We did a lot of coding in the last video. Here, I just kind of wanted to do more of the concept. So now we have our shield. Okay, and then we have our little headgear. And now we also have a cape. And I thought, okay, that's a great way of, because if you add too many things, you're going to interfere with the player being able to see their character and all that kind of stuff, right? So I want the player to be able to see their character, but also have a couple of objects that we can have that are going to boost their stats, right? What stats do we have? Well, we have stamina, health, and mana, which are our, right? And then we have our attributes, strength, wisdom, and endurance. So if we want to boost those, we'd either do it all through one item, or we do it through multiple items. And then they require magic to work and all that sort of stuff, right? And then we can do a couple of different weapons. We have the sword. We're also gonna create a staff, which is gonna shoot like fire bolts, or it's gonna shoot, yeah. Ooh. It'll shoot lightning, and it'll have like different effects on it. We'll do something like that. And that way, there's a couple of base weapons, which you can pretty much modify in any which way. Yeah, I thought that was neat. So the whole resist thing, the whole damage system that we sort of built, we're going to adapt it. We're going to adapt it a little bit, and we're going to change it a little bit. And that's the wonderful thing about it, is these, healing amount. Yeah, we did a fair amount here. Added the resist. But see, we can, now that we've written this code, and we sort of have an idea of what we want damage-wise, what we want attribute-wise, and what we want weapon-wise, now we can go back and rework the original code that we wrote to adapt to the new system. Alright, quite simply, because he has this basic sword, which hasn't really changed at all. It's just a sword in the player name. That's it. It's got some sounds to it, right? It finds the player and it does 2 different types of damage, right? And then it can look for the resistance. So when it comes to those types of values, instead of storing them in the object here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on the player. So when the player joins the game, I don't know why I gave you that error. When the player joins the game, this label will be invisible and it'll only pop up when you get poisoned, when this happens, when that happens, instead of it being in the shield, right? So yeah, so I guess we could start working. Now that I've mentioned all that, I guess we can start working on it. Yeah, even the poisoned effect, everything. So let's see. If we want to rework the whole system, what we need to make sure is that the player, so we have to make sure that the player has this interface. So when we press these buttons, I guess they can still come from the, they can search the player. Right, the easiest thing is to get the player to activate this. So when the shield is teleported to the player, they activate it. And then what it does is it stores the player's name inside the shield. Then we're able to find the player in the workspace, and we're able to change the player's attributes. We're able to give the player value. We're able to do all those things. So that is going to be the base concept here. So I guess I'm just thinking about how I want to adapt this, because we did all this with the damage in that. It just looks for the humanoid, and I wanted to see if there was a different way. So what we could do is this. So on the player added script, yeah, here we go. On the player added script, okay. Now what we need to do is we need to get resist values, or we could just say combat values. All right, so what we need to do is we need to create a folder. And we're going to call this combat values. Just like that, combat values. Now, I guess it was going to be a short video. You know. So, combat values, and then we're gonna make another value, and we're gonna call this poison. And it's gonna be instead of being a number value, this is gonna be a bool value, which means it's true or false, and the parent is gonna be combat values. So we'll say combals for this. Okay. Oh, this has to be combals. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then this is going to be poison. Alright, so we have poison, and then we need, what do we need? Fire. Alright. Fire, and then we need wind damage. And then we need earth damage. Alright, so those are the 4 elements, those are the 4 types of damage, I guess. However that works, I don't know, but that's how it's going to work in this game. So we have our combat values. Now what do these do? So if we get hit by something and it causes this value to be true, Then on the player, we're going to have a folder that's cloned to the player from the replicated storage, and in there it's going to have scripts that operate when this value is true, when this value is true, and when this value is true. Easy peasy, easy peasy. So let's test to see if we set up the folder properly. Potentially combat values. All right, and then we have 4 of them. So these don't need anything fancy. They don't need P calls. They don't need anything. Now, what we need to do is poison. Oh, I see. This one needs to be fire. I mean, from here it's pretty easy. Let's see. Local wind. I suppose one could be water, actually. This one here could be water. That would work. That would work. Yep. We have, instead of poison, we could have air. We could have air damage. Yeah, we could have air damage. Now that's unique. Alright? Does air damage. I guess it's the same as wind. No, that's the same as wind. We'll just do that as poison. Oh boy. Oh boy, it's been a long day. Okay, it's been a long day. Okay, so there, now we have our 4 little things there, okay? Now that should be set up properly. Shouldn't get any errors. Nope, didn't get any errors. Yes, there we go. So now we're continuing to set up the player. We're continuing to set up the player values. And we're just organizing, again, I mean, there's a lot of this, right? There's a lot of still organizing the player. So now that we have those values, now what we need to do is we need to make scripts based on what happens when those values become true. So in the replicated storage, we're going to right click, we're going to insert object, a folder. This is going to be elemental damage. In here, we're going to insert an object, a script. Okay, this script is going to say while true do, and the first thing it's going to do is it's going to wait, and it's going to say if script.parent. So this is going to be cloned to the player in the workspace. So this is going to have to be cloned to the, let's see, the same place as this. Local elemental equals, and then it's just going to be game get service replicated storage, find first child, elemental damage. Alright, and then we will say elemental clone dot parent equals game get service workspace find first child, player.name, dot head, dot parent. There we go. Now, combat values are here, and the combat values should be on us. Oh, something's going on here. Oh yeah, there it is right there. Elemental damage. Perfect. So now we don't need to yeah, perfect. Though it said, oh, because I didn't finish the script. Yeah, if script.parent. So what we now need to do is we need to say if script dot parent. Now we're at the player. Ooh, I don't know if we can. I don't think this is the right way to handle these values. These values here need to exist inside this folder here. Yes, that's right. We need to insert the bool values here. Because all this is handled in the workspace. So when we get hit, it's going to search the player for this folder and for these values, and then the script is going to be activated. It's the best way to do it. So we have poison, we have we have fire, we have wind, and we have earth. All right, that'll work. Yeah, so this has to be on the player. And then we can say if script.parent .earth .value is equal to true, then, all right, then we can say script.parent we can say find first child humanoid .health equals. Now we need to make a local damage equals 1. So equals script.parent find first child, because this is handled inside the player, so it's perfect. Humanoid .health minus damage. Then we'll probably have to wait, 1 second, and then it'll do it again. There we go. And then what we'll do is we will say script.parent.earth .value equals false. Okay, and now the next thing we need to do is we need to take this guy here and duplicate it. And the script is going to get rid of all of this. And we'll get rid of all this. All we need is the player's name. So what we need to do is we need to say game get service workspace find first child player dot name, and then we need to say find first child elemental damage. All right, and then we need to say .earth EARTH dot value equals true. Oh boy, that was a lot of work, huh? So now what that should do is it'll turn this value to true, and then we should take damage from it. Yep, look at that. We took some damage. We could even, we could do that, right? So we're basically rebuilding the combat system. It really is that simple, and it really is that you know it's easy to maneuver around. I really enjoy it. All right, so everything loads. Yeah, there we go. But you see how fast we regen health. So yeah. So that becomes the new combat system. So when this weapon, where is it here? When this classic sword hits the player and gets the player's name, it's still going to be able to do the damage, but there's an easier way of writing all this now. Because what we can do is we can write a script on the player inside that folder, okay? So now we can right click, we can insert another object. Let's insert another bool value, and let's just call it a hit. Just like that, okay? Now if we duplicate this is going to be our damage script. This will be our hit script, okay? And we can say while true do. Instead, we can change this to hit. And then we can change this to hit. And we can change this to like 10. And then when we get struck by this thing, instead of doing all this health stuff, what we can do is we can say game. Oh, we're probably going to need to get rid of this one too, isn't it? Game get service. No, we don't want the workspace. What are we trying to do here? Yeah, we don't even need half of this anymore. We can just say local. No, we can say hit dot, and then what we'll do is we'll just look for this folder. Hit dot elemental damage dot hit dot value equals true. Simple as that. Every time it hits, it makes it true. Now, while true do, this will go and then it will make the value false. So what we then need to do is this script on the sword. Alright, let's see how that works first. Let's just see how that works first. My only concern is it hits like 100 times. Oh. Probably hit dot parent, I would guess. Hit dot parent. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so now we've taken this kind of to another level. Now we've sort of taken this to another level. And what I mean by that is that now we're able to kind of control the player. If we spawn a whole bunch of these enemies at the player and they're trying to get to the player, we don't want, if all the player has to do is come into contact with the sword once and it can, you know, end the player. We don't want that. We want to have a more controlled, just a more controlled way of getting damage. Okay, so now that we've rewritten the damage system, let's just rewrite the. We're gonna rewrite all of this in here. We're gonna rewrite the poison. We're gonna rewrite all that because, as you can see, it's really easy to do. The interface we'll keep for now. We'll get rid of that. We'll change it because all that can be activated from the player into the object, which is a better way, I feel, of handling all that, right? And now we're able to cast damage. So now what we need to do, now that we've rewritten the damage script, what we need to do is focus on this part of it, eliminating the spam. So, yeah, we could do something like that. We could look for the humanoid, and if the humanoid is there, we could say else print not human, right? There we go. See, it touches that. It says it's non-human. There we go. Oof. Nice. That I like. There. So we completely redid the combat system in a matter of moments. Okay. So now what we need to do is we just need to create some elemental scripts. And then we just need to figure out how we want the weapons to boost the stats. And then probably make some random number generators. So we can, like, so the idea is that the player does the quest, and then they get this as a starter item. And I want there to be a chance of the values on the starter item of being kind of semi-random. So we're going to learn in the next video, we're going to get into random number generating when it comes to giving us rewards and that sort of stuff. So we're almost there. We've almost come full circle where we have a combat system still, which is good. We're going to utilize this, right? So we're expanding on how we're giving the player information. And we are going to be changing the combat system around just a little bit here. I like it, actually. I like it. So this also means that inside these rigs, we're going to have to include values like this, elemental damage, probably inside the rig as well. Let's see, so if we copy this, and then if because here it's looking for the player, but when the player has the sword, let's see, I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, really. Because this kind of handles it, right? Yeah, alright, let's test it out here. If we copy this, put that into server storage. Oh yeah, it does damage. It just doesn't have an attack animation in it. when we activate it. Cool. So now we get to program the weapon and we get to do that kind of stuff, but it still works and it'll do damage. Awesome. So I guess we could recap this one. This was kind of I'm not sure. We're starting to expand the game. So what I wanted to do was have a piece of armor that gives us a resists damage, that sort of stuff, gives us that protection. I wanted a piece of armor that changes our regeneration, so mana regeneration, health regeneration, and stamina regeneration. And then I wanted a piece of armor that boosted our attributes. So that's what I've done. I've added 3 pieces of armor, and now those 3 pieces of armor are going to do those 3 things. I figured that was simple, keeping things simple. Yeah, now what we need is oh, cool. Whoops. And this was just a test to see if you put your mouse over it. So when we destroy the NPC and there's just pieces on the ground, you're going to run your mouse over it and like a little interface will come up and you'll click on it. And then you'll be able to take items out of the... So rewards, player rewards. So that's kind of the last thing. Okay, the last thing. So in the next video, we're going to... That's what we're going to do. We're going to build the staff, which is going to be added to the combat system. And then we're going to code our armor so it boosts the player. And then we will work on loot and that kind of stuff from him. And then after that, we can start actually working on the game. We can start building terrain, picking a setting, and all that sort of stuff. Cool. So that'll be the next probably 3 videos. So again, thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you all then.